Firstly, can you update us on Alexander Isak, who wasn't with you at Arsenal? You said minor groin injury last week. How's he doing?
Yeah, he's doing okay. He's hasn't trained with us yet, but he's made good progress through the week. Next couple of days will be absolutely crucial to his availability on Sunday.
So at this stage, there is a chance that he could play some part against Everton.
Yeah, there's a chance. It's difficult to give any more than that, really. Until he trains with us, we won't fully know how he's going to respond to the training and the demands that the game will place upon him. We'll only play him if he's fit to contribute. But at the moment, he has an opportunity, potentially.
When we spoke to you last week, you said it was probably unlikely that Joe Linton would feature again this season. Is that still the case, or could he be back on Sunday?
No, Joe Linton won't be back. He's had another injection in his knee, which was always on the cards potentially for him. So he's in a knee brace only as a protection from that injection, really. He's making good progress. So we envisage that he will be back for pre-season with no problems.
And what about Kieran Trippier?
Yeah, he's a player, again, probably in a similar situation to Alex. He hasn't trained with us yet, and he's had a sort of an absence of maybe 2.5 weeks. But has a chance maybe in the next couple of days to build up his load, and maybe we'll see him train tomorrow. Let's wait and see.
After the result last weekend against Arsenal, you know it comes down to Sunday against Everton at home, and it will determine which European competition you play in next season. What would you say about the mood among the players this week? Because you know you're guaranteed European football. You'll finish in a great position after a wonderful season. But there's one more thing that you want to achieve. Yeah,
I think the mood's been really good. I think there was a disappointment after Arsenal, not so much on the general performance, but more on the result. I thought we deserved more from the game. But I think, training's been lively this week. The lads have been in good spirits. I think they're looking forward to the challenge that we face on Sunday, and I think they're looking forward to what should be a great atmosphere, a great occasion, and hopefully that consistency of performance that we've had for a long time continues. Certainly I know the desire to do well is there, and hopefully we can put it all together.
And on that point about a great atmosphere, how pleased are you that this fixture is a home one and it's at St James's Park? You're playing Everton. I'm sure you wouldn't have wanted it to be the final match at Goodison Park, but just to be at home against whoever for such a big game.
Yeah, I think that's what we would ask, to be at home in front of our supporters. It's in our hands. I don't think we can ask for any more at this moment. Then, of course, you have to do the difficult part and take that opportunity. And it's by no means a given. Everton have been in really good form. They've been difficult to beat, haven't conceded a lot of goals. So we know the challenge is a big one. They've got threats in their team as well. So we're going to have to be focused, concentrate on what we need to do to win the game. And hopefully then the crowd can carry us through.
And because it's in your hands, if you do your job, then you'll be there. But if something goes wrong, you could get a favour from another team. But do you have to forget about other matches and other results on Sunday and focus only on yourselves?
Yeah, definitely. I don't think we can look for any favours from anybody. We have to do our bit. And that's purely going to be the only thing in our minds. There'll be no talk of other results or other teams. What will be in that respect. Afterwards we'll see and reflect, but for us we know what we have to do.
Last couple of things. Season finishes on Sunday, so what happens next week for you and the players? Is that it, or some of them in for rehab and injury recovery, or does everyone just go?
Well, the majority will go, all being well. They're in good physical condition and they go on their holidays pretty quickly. I think for the injured players, the ones that have remained injured, Lewis Hall, Matt Targett trained with us this week, so that was a good sign. Joe Linton will continue to recover with his injury throughout the summer, but the majority of players will get that rest.
And very finally, do you know yet when you'll return for pre-season? Do you have the dates and the schedule? Yeah,
we do. The plan at the moment is the 7th, I believe, of July. Obviously that can possibly change, but that's at the moment what we're looking at.
Thank you. Keith?
Eddie, I guess you would have taken the situation before a ball was kicked at the start of the season, needing a home win against Everton to qualify for the Champions League?
Yeah, I think when you look back, I think it's sometimes a really good thing to do, just to reflect back to the start of the season. And the start of the season, actually, the first few games were difficult for us. If you cast your mind back, I think we got a couple of good results, but performances weren't quite where they needed to be. So I think then if you sort of go back to that period, and certainly we spoke about the Brentford game a lot, but after that game, if you'd put us in this position, you'd have said it was a monumental effort from the players to catapult us up the league into, with a chance of qualifying for the Champions League with one game to go, winning obviously the Cup like we did, we'd have taken that for sure.
You've just gone through with Razor there the injury issues you've got surrounding a few of your players. I know obviously not ideal for the final game of the season, but it feels like because you've kind of switched from the 4-3-3 to a 3 at the back at times over the last couple of weeks, allied to the injuries you've got, it feels like you've got a couple of big decisions to make with regards to team selection.
Yeah, certainly being flexible in our setup has been something we've wanted to be that team all season. I don't like teams sort of getting a direct read on what we're going to do and just one way of doing things. So it's been interesting to see towards the end of the season. I thought we played really well in that system, but also 4-3-3 has sort of been our standard system. We've done really well in that one as well. But I think it's the sort of debate that I have is trying to pick your best players into your best system. You know, sometimes the players make the system as well, and if you're missing those players, sometimes then you might have to have a little rethink. So we've sort of been in that position for a few weeks, but the teams functioned really well, and the Arsenal performance I thought was really strong. The Chelsea performance was really strong. So yeah, I think I do have some decisions to make.
With regards to Alex, I mean, it sounds as though it's touch and go. Is the plan to try and to see him train today, or are you leaving it right up until the last minute?
No, I think we'll leave it till tomorrow. But obviously this week he's been training just individually and building up his load. So he's been running and feels okay at the moment. But of course running is one thing and kicking a ball and doing all the other things that you need to do is another. So far what he's been asked to do, he's done it pain-free and he's done it well. So the next 2 days will be absolutely crucial.
You've got options up there though, haven't you? Because Callum came back, started last week, got a good, 70 minutes under his belt. Anthony, we've seen, can play through there. And of course, it looks like Will Osula desperate to be involved as well. So the good thing is you do have options. Yeah,
we do. I thought Callum led the line well last week. He went into the game feeling a little bit unwell himself. Came through that fine and put in a good shift. And I think the thing with Callum that you always know you're going to get is the understanding of the role, the understanding of his responsibilities from all areas and all aspects of the game, whether that's pressing, whether that's where we need him to stand from various aspects of the game. So his knowledge and his understanding of the game is at the highest level. And I thought for probably 30-35 minutes on Sunday he played really well. Will is Will. He's unpredictable. He's got touches and moments that can really hurt the opposition. So he's a good option for us. And Anthony, as you say, has played as a 9. He plays it slightly differently to the other two, who are sort of out and out centre forwards. But it's good to have those options for that position.
Can I just ask you one more on the transfer window? There's this sort of additional, I think, week or so bolted on to the beginning of it now due to the Club World Cup. The transfer window is essentially opening on the 1st of June. Does that? I mean, it looks as though some clubs are almost trying to be active already and trying to get to work really quickly. Does that affect you at all?
I think my mindset's always the same when you come to this time of the year. You want to act quickly because usually the best players, the best available options will move quite quickly. And I think if you're too late to react, you can miss out on potential transfers that really could make the difference. So I'm sort of the mindset you need to be ready in every moment, whether that's early, whether that's late, or whether that's in the middle. We pride ourselves on identifying our targets quickly, and then we have to act quickly and efficiently as a football club. Thank you.
Andy?
Well, Neddy, in this most surreal of seasons, what's been the most surreal moment for you, would you say, if you're going to reflect?
I think the whole cup final experience on the day was probably that moment for me. I think if you're going to plan a day and try and in your head dream how you wanted the game to go, it would have been that day. And then the scenes afterwards, very surreal, very strange feeling. But looking back, just with so many great memories from that experience. So I think that was a day, but I hope there's another one to come, and that potentially could be Sunday for us, because I think we shouldn't underestimate the size of the achievement. When you look at all the other clubs that we're fighting and competing with, you sort of realise how special this achievement could be.
I know it's not your area, but the announcement about the new strip out this morning, you'll have seen it before, I imagine. What's your impressions of it away from football?
Yeah, it's not something I've given too much attention to, but I do take great sort of, that's the word, I don't know, pride is the right word, but towards the shirt, because it's so iconic. For me, there's very few recognisable strips, you know straight away who it is, but Newcastle is one of those. And I like the strip, and I think it's important for me that the players like it as well, because they're the ones that got to wear it and wear it with pride and feel good playing in it. So I think that's really important, and of course the supporters are key too, because the amount of sales we have of the shirt is incredible. So I certainly hope they like it too.
If Newcastle were to win, hypothetically, on Sunday, make Champions League, of course, with the Carabao Cup win as well, would this be your best managerial season, would you say?
Yeah, I think so. I think when you add the two things together, again, I don't sit up at night putting my seasons into an order. But I think it's relevant. I think it's here and it's now. And I think the cup final success was unbelievable for us. I think it was a real game changer, a history moment. But I think the Champions League is one of those things. It's such a tough thing to, as I say, look at the teams we're competing with. It's such a tough thing to achieve. And the players that did it 2 years ago, that was a monumental effort. But this would mean just as much.
You mentioned the atmosphere on Sunday, the expected atmosphere on Sunday. There's expected to be a big display again from War Flags. Can you sum up the impact that War Flags have had on the atmospheres, not just this season, but in your time already at Newcastle?
Yeah, I think initially it was a purely unique thing. It was, I only saw us doing it, and War Flags was a real innovative idea and something that now I see sort of copied by other clubs, but I think War Flags were the standard bearers of it. And it's not just the displays, but it was the thought behind the displays. It was at the right time. A player needed a lift or a boost. I think it gave them that, and also makes the players feel valued and special, and just creates a different dynamic here that I don't think is replicated at many other places. So I can't thank them enough for what they've done. The effort, the time, the money to deliver those things is not underappreciated by us. So they're very, very special and a big part of what we're about here.
Just finally, where's your own summer holidays this year, if you do actually get any time away?
Why, you fancy coming? I can't tell you lot, can I? I can't tell you a lot of it. No, it's I'll be leaving pretty early because it's half term for the kids. So away quite early, and then I'll try and get away again, spend some time with the family.
Have a good time anyway.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Andy. Alistair?
Hi, Eddie. This is still a great season regardless of what happens on Sunday, but will it feel like that if you don't make the Champions League?
I think the football emotions swing so quickly that possibly not in that moment it will feel like a huge disappointment to us, because we've been in there fighting all season. Well, not all season, probably the 2/3 of the season in those positions. So I think if we were to miss out, that would be a tough one to take. But yeah, then you have another chance the next season to go again. But I think we know what we need to do and what we want to do, and all our emotions are towards that.
The players have shown that they're always up for the big occasion. How is it that they always seem to turn up in these really big matches, particularly this season?
Yeah, I'm reluctant to sort of say that, because it sounds like then I'm setting ourselves up. But I think we have, this season so far, we've attacked the games. I think we've been fearless in our approach. I think that helps. And then galvanised by the crowd, I think that combination of those things has allowed us to rise to whatever occasion we're playing in. Now, this is a unique test. It's a different game. And as I said earlier, Everton will be tough opponents for us. So we take nothing for granted. We have to be relaxed, but we also have to be in that sweet spot that I've said many times. When you go into these types of games, if you're not in the right emotional state, these games are difficult.
And there's another big match this weekend, Sunderland at Wembley. I think you might have been asked the other week, but would you prefer to see them come up, or will you be watching with a Sheffield United scarf around your neck?
I think just see my answer from, was it a week ago, 2 weeks ago? I don't think I'll go through it again.
Thanks, Alistair. Okay, we've got the written, we'll add Sundays in the end, so please bear that in mind. We'll start with Damien, go to Louise, and then to Ian, please.
Hi, Eddie.
Hi, Damien.
Alex has been at the centre of so many of your big moments over the last couple of years. If you can get him on the pitch, is there one left in this season?
For sure there's one left in him. We'd love him to be fit and available for the game. He has to be fit to give his best, though. I think that's clear, and we wouldn't risk him being not able to deliver what he needs to do. He has to be free in his movement and everything, because he's that kind of player. You know, he's electric at his best. So let's see. But if it's not him, then there's space for someone else, and I think that's the key thing. Someone else needs to step up and take that mantle.
Louise?
Hi, Eddie.
Hey.
Is there any part of you that now sees Tino Livramento as a left back rather than a right back?
I think the beauty of Tino is he can do both. I think he's been absolutely outstanding at left back, I have to say. I think he's been brilliant. I think for some players, playing on the wrong side can really open up the pitch, and I think for Tino it's been that for him. His left foot's actually pretty good. He's produced some brilliant crosses off that, standing the ball up, back post. But also then when he comes into his right foot, he's got obvious strengths. But the biggest thing, I think, he's got a great football brain, and I think that's allowed him to play with real freedom. We've asked him to do a couple of things different tactically, and he's been able to execute that. I think his game has definitely, from going to the left, gone up 2 or 3 levels. But I see in the future him going back to right back, but also having the ability potentially to stay at left back depending on what the team needs.
And is there any tiny part of you that counterintuitively thinks that getting into the Europa League, it's a winnable trophy, perhaps a more winnable trophy than the Champions League?
No.
Or is that sacrilege and heresy?
No, we'll go for the highest that we can. That's always been my philosophy. We'll go for the top and see where we can go. If that's not to be, then we'll try and then fall in line and try and get the best competition that we can. But Champions League is our aim. No disrespect to any other competition, but that's where we want to be.
Thank you. Ian?
Good morning, Eddie. And not surprisingly, the stats suggest you're a far more effective team with Isak in the side. Are you confident that if he doesn't make it, you can scale the height you've invariably scaled when he is in the side?
Yeah, I am confident because I don't think we're ever truly reliant on one player. The team's strength is the team. Yes, to have a good team, you need good individuals within it, but we pride ourselves on being very team orientated, team focused. We know that every member of the team is so important to the delivery of what we do. So I always say if someone's missing, and we're missing some key players in our recent run, and more so than Kieran Trippier, Joe Linton, Lewis Hall, these are players who have had huge impacts, but we've still been able to be successful without them. And that'll be the case if Alex doesn't make it. Someone else has to step up and grab the mantle.
You're not playing a top 6 side, you're at home, but since David Moyes came into Everton, they've arguably been the toughest nut to crack in the whole Premier League. And are you aware it could possibly take right up to the closing minutes maybe to break them down?
Yeah, that's what I was referencing earlier. We know how good Everton have been and how difficult they have been to beat. And David's teams always are tight defensively, strong from set plays, all the things that you associate with the David Moyes team. They are, and they have strength. So yeah, we know that however we need to win, we're prepared to do that, whether it's late, whether it's ugly. You know, we need all our tools available, and the most important thing is that we need to be ready to adapt during the game.
Thank you. I'll go to Luke, Mark and Jordan, please. Luke?
These might bounce around a little bit, these questions. You've been asked what your highlights were. What was the most difficult period of the season for you? Because it hasn't always been easy, has it?
No, it hasn't. It's been one of those seasons, I think. But like every season, you have your highs and your lows during the campaign. I think the start was difficult. I think we had a hangover from the summer to a degree, with a few situations which was difficult to get through. The Brentford game was a real low because we conceded 4 poor goals that day, and that was sort of on the back of a difficult run for us, where we had a choice really at that moment where we were going to go with the season. Players responded brilliantly from that moment onwards. I'd say they're the two, sort of the start, if you're going to bracket it, the start and that game were the 2 low points.
What does the Champions League mean for a club like Newcastle? What does it mean in terms of reputation and prestige within the game? And is that why it's so important?
Well, I think I said last week, it's about the football achievement. It's not, everyone will talk finances, and I understand why, and of course that is important. But for us, it's about, well, you want to play against the best teams in the best competitions, and to try and win those competitions. Ultimately, that is your aim. That's why you're there competing. I think if you're competitors by nature, you take on the biggest challenge and you go for it. So that's what we're desperate to do. Obviously, there's benefits from that as well that run right through the club. So that would all be positive for us, and that's why we're so desperate to get there.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Eddie, I think there's an anticipation maybe that there's going to be a lot of change in the summer. Things are going to change. Do you think Sunday will be the last time that fans will see some of the players who are going to play on Sunday, or do you think maybe we should be a bit measured about how many people are going to go out and how much change there's going to be?
Yeah, I'm not sure on the thought there, a huge change this summer. I mean, there could be. I mean, I'm in a position where I don't know what's going to happen, and you never know going into any summer with transfer activity of ins or outs. You never know the numbers. You might have a thought of what could happen. But yeah, without a doubt, this could be the last time that some of the supporters see some of the players. But I'd be saying the same at every season. In life, unfortunately, there's no guarantees, and change is a natural process. But the players that have represented the club and that are in this squad have been incredible servants, and we need to, in my opinion, pay tribute to what they've done.
You mentioned there about the football achievement of winning it, and obviously you mentioned the budget thing as well. Is there a difference if you get into the Champions League and don't, between what you can do in the transfer market? Does it make a consequential difference, or is it maybe not as big as that?
Yeah, it makes a difference. I don't know what people's perceptions would be, but it does make a difference to us. But that's not, as I said, of course that's a byproduct that we want. But you can't think about those things. You can't think about financial consequences when you're playing the game. It has a negative effect on your decision making. So that's why I just prefer to talk about the football.
Okay, Jordan.
More than Eddie, Callum Wilson appeared on the podcast this week and spoke of the season being the trickiest of his career. How much have you felt for him this season, given sort of his injury troubles at the start and not being able to get in the team because of Alex's form?
Yeah, I think I've lived every emotion that he has, because obviously his injuries have a direct knock-on effect for me. So I've been in moments with Callum of high emotion where I've tried to support him emotionally, and he's been an incredible player for me over many, many years. Couldn't speak highly enough of his character, of his attributes, of his ability. But he's had some real hurdles to overcome, and none more so than this year. At the start of pre-season, he had to be really strong. He's had a couple of setbacks. Again, he's had to be strong and have the motivation levels to be as high as they are to come back and keep coming back. Touchwood, he's managed to stay fit now for a decent period of time, and he's almost gone through a pre-season while being available to play, which is very difficult for any player. I feel he's getting better and stronger all the time. He's probably been in his best physical condition right now, so probably the season ending for him is a sort of bad timing. I think Alex being fit and available, though, I think is possibly been a good thing for him, so we haven't had to thrust him in to many games from the start, which I don't think he was necessarily ready to do. But yeah, he's just an incredible person, an incredible footballer, and I've always loved working with him.
And Callum did mention his contract situation as well. Is Sunday potentially last time we could see him in a Newcastle shirt?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I think with the game being such a big game and all the focus being on the result and the team performance, I think naturally, on behalf of the sort of the football club side, it's not been about players' futures. It's been about trying to produce a really good team performance, and then of course everything will be discussed afterwards.
Thank you. We'll go to Chris, Lee, and then Martin.
More Eddie, sort of unusual one away from the magnitude of this game, but there's the fan who usually follows the team home and away, Mark Allison, aka Run Geordie Run, who won't be in the seat this weekend because he's running from one side of the USA to the other to raise money for St Benedict's Hospital. He's been listening to the last couple of matches on the radios. He's been running. He's got 77 days left in which to complete the challenge. Firstly, were you aware of this, and do you have any words of encouragement from him? Because I think, understandably, he's quite fatigued now.
Yeah, I'm not sure I could be doing that at this moment in time, but yeah, an incredible effort. You know, first and foremost, to run across the United States of America isn't something that everyone can do. So I'd just like to wish him all the luck. And I think when you're feeling tired, and I always say this to the players, you just got to try and keep going. And from his perspective, just put one leg in front of the other, and really you're going to have to go deep. You're going to have to go to all your motivational tools that you have, and he's probably going to spend a lot of time going back to probably his family and his childhood experiences to try and get through in amongst the pain. I have heard about his story, and I think it's an incredible effort, and what a brilliant cause to raise money for. So congratulations to him, and fingers crossed he can finish the job.
Thanks, Chris. Lee?
Eddie, just as things stand when you look at this squad, would you say it's equipped for a European season? Feels like you're going to have to sign 3, 4, maybe 5 players?
Yeah, I think we'd have to sign players purely to replace the ones we lost. When you go back to January and the summer, we lost some key players that were integral to our squad dynamic. So in a couple of positions, we're lighter than we would want to be. And of course, learning from 2 seasons ago, we have the rigours of the Champions League format, or European competition format, should I say. And we sort of were counting the cost of that. There was no breather for us. There was no reset button. We were stuck in an injury situation that we couldn't escape from. So I would say we'd need to add a bit more depth in certain positions. But going to the earlier question, I don't think it's a squad overhaul. It's just we need good players, and we need to try and add 1 or 2.
Yeah, and with Alexander, you said there was no guarantees on Sunday. I think you were probably put on the spot with that question a little bit on Sunday. But do you think that's something that needs to be sorted quite soon? Just get his contract and his future under control?
Alex's?
Yeah.
Alex has got 3 years left on his deal, and of course all contract situations with players are discussed, are talked about, but they're more delicately poised than people would sort of naturally think from the outside. There's never sort of one straight answer. So Alex is under contract. We love him to bits. We want him to stay and keep enjoying his football like he has done, and continue to score goals for many years for Newcastle. That's my plan. So yeah.
Thanks, Lee. Martin?
Morning, Eddie. Have you watched the Champions League this season, and how much have you missed it?
I laugh because how much have you missed it? Yeah, I mean, watching the games from the outside is different to obviously being involved in it, and watching some of the games this year bring back memories of our own experiences, and how much we'd like to get back there and savour those moments again. Some of the stadiums we played at, the atmospheres we were involved in, and the nearly moments where we felt we could have achieved so much more. So yeah, I have watched. I've enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the final. Yeah, we'd love to be back there.
And we talk about the financial element of the Champions League, but can you afford to miss it from the footballing side and the development of the players, especially when you look like at the emergence of a side like PSG and what they're doing at the minute?
Yeah, football changes so quickly. You look at the PSG team that we played to the team now, and you see the growth in that team, and it's been great to see. They're one of my favourite teams to watch in world football at the moment. Of course, we'd love to stay with that level, because that level improves your own players. There's no doubt, and improves your own team and your ability, I think, to then do well at your respective domestic competitions. So the prize is a big one, and it. Again, going back to it, that's a good question because it's all football related. That's where my thoughts are.
Okay. Dom and Kieran were right up on time, so single questions, please. We'll move to Sundays. Dominic.
Okay, morning, Eddie.
Morning.
After Chelsea, you hinted there would be a big summer ahead for Newcastle United. The PSR problems aren't there. While you can never predict a transfer window, what does a big summer look like for Newcastle United? What could it mean for the club?
I think, the difference in mentality for where we were, knowing that this time last year we were in a selling position. We needed to raise revenue. I think that's a totally different mindset to being in the one that we are now with, different mindset and different possibilities. It is a big summer for us because every transfer window is big. You want to go preferably into the new season with a stronger squad than the one that you entered with. And that's always the challenge.
Thank you. Kieran?
Good morning. Do you feel you're in a position to act efficiently, like you mentioned earlier, compared to last summer? Obviously, does it feel different even just before the window opens, the feeling around the place?
Well, I think from a recruitment perspective, definitely yes, because we knew we weren't recruiting last summer. It was going to be one of the opposite. So naturally, that's a different feeling when you're involved in the final decision. But without knowing how the window is going to unfold, you have lots of positivity at the start, and then you see how it goes through the window.